But do you guys have a gag reflex when you, like, if you stuck that back there?
I can't even brush my tongue.
What? Okay.
Holy shit! Wow, Bri.
Are we
he
doing
did gag.
Are we doing this? Are we doing this here?
You gagged.
I hate that.
Should I do it?
Yeah,
Who
touch it.
doesn't have a gag? I mean,
Oh,
obviously. I mean, some people
I've
don't.
met a couple of people.
Oh, that's
Dude,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Whoa, dude,
Oh,
you're eating your fist.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
That one was for you, Darren.
How do you guys want to start this week's episode? You got two options. All right. We can do super heartfelt, warm and fuzzies,
Yeah.
or we can do ouchie wouchie. Oh my fucking god! No.
What do you
When do you
smell?
guys fart?
No.
No. It was the dog for sure.
Dude, when you smell like that, you give off strong werewolf vibes.
Yeah, he does.
You get
actually.
like
Yeah.
you go full primal.
It smells like
First of all,
it
you
smells like he
first
might
of all,
have shit.
First of all, you look like
What's that?
you
Teen
might as well
werewolf?
be in
Teen
fucking
wolf?
Twilight with with the facial hair and the hair. Like you look like you got cast as a werewolf
Yeah,
in a
you do,
fucking
actually.
teen like coming of age drama about werewolves and vampires.
Which is kind of funny,
That's
Jared.
ultimately
because,
a compliment.
Jared, you kind of look like you got cast as the vampire.
I am quite pale.
You gotta be.
I think it's a mustache.
You gotta
I think
be.
it's
You
a
gotta be
mustache.
handsome to get cast in one of those movies. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and thank you. But
thank
the way you sniff is like it's just highly annoying. Dude, and like you move your fucking head around. God damn,
Did you
dude.
smell it?
No, I
No,
can't
you-
smell a thing. I don't have a sense of smell.
Do you smell it?
I smell it. Yeah.
It's probably Donut.
It was
Donut's
a-
been tooting
for
lately.
sure as a dog. But I would like to start if I have the option of going. No, I didn't want to start like this, but if I have the option for going for something that's like a bit grotesque and then a bit like something that's gonna get my belly churning a little bit,
And then
then
get some eye bleach after.
I want that sweet
All right.
stuff after. So
right.
I'd probably prefer to get that out of the way.
Okay, let's
Hey,
do
buddy.
it. So we literally just wrapped a recording with our friend Andrew, who is a paramedic, working in paramedicine and community paramedicine, and lovely conversation. Can't wait for you to hear it. It'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. But in that conversation, when the mic stopped rolling, we were talking about IO, which is intraosseous infusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we just recently heard another story about IO, me and Brian. We were here at the office watching the fights a couple of nights ago, and a friend of ours was here who works in the healthcare world of healthcare. Specifically, he works in the emergency sort of department of things. And he told us this fucking crazy story about a patient who had coded, couldn't find a heart rate or couldn't find a pulse, and he had to do for the first time since he went to school on a real living human, or at least trying to bring back to life human.
Trying to stay alive.
Trying to stay alive. They gave him intraosseous infusion.
Which is, if you don't know what it is,
So
it's crazy.
super wild. So intraosseous infusion, IO, is the process of injecting medications, fluids, or blood products directly into the marrow of a bone. So the reason why someone would need IO is if you go into cardiac arrest, apparently your veins become very constricted and very small, and it's next to impossible to get an IV into the vein in order to give the person fluids. So what they do instead, because they can't find a place to stick the IV, they take this needle and they go right into the bone. So oftentimes they'll do it in the leg bone, like in the tibia. Sometimes they'll do it in the sternum. Oftentimes they'll do it in the shoulder.
But the crazy thing is that they have to drill in to get the needle into the bone.
So here is a video
I don't want that.
of a doctor
I want it.
doing it on himself
No.
to show people how it works.
No.
Watch this.
But why are you doing that?
No.
Dude, this guy is so badass. Watch his reaction to this.
Okay.
Whoa! Look how cool he is. Okay. All right. Just
I'm
drill
gonna
that in
push.
there.
Whoa.
All right, now we're gonna flush it out. No big deal.
Ha.
If I push it slow,
Don't
How
you-
did-
it doesn't hurt.
Dude, Donut. I think Donut wants to fuck me. Jesus Christ, dude.
Dude, is that not the craziest thing? Now, there's if you want to look this up, there's tons of videos of this, of like military personnel and shit doing it while awake, and they're doing it to their sternums for training purposes.
How can you do that?
Don't you have to recover from
I mean,
a,
dude, you
like
got
a
you got
bone
drilled.
hole?
You got drilled.
I-
Like,
I know.
yeah, I would say.
Right, but
Like, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. Looking by that doctor, I'm sure he just went okay, and then I just pull it out, and
but if you
Bob's your
drill
uncle.
into your bone, like does he not go to work for a bit? You know?
you would think
it was
that
the
you-
last day of schooling, and he goes, okay, and everyone's going to do something now that, well, I'm going to have to take 7 weeks off work. And here we
I'm
go.
going to destroy my summer.
Isn't
for
it
you.
annoying how people like David Blaine sort of desensitize you to things like that in a way, though? Like when you see David Blaine take like the knitting needle
Yeah.
and just put it straight through his arm.
I
and
mean,
then you
that's
see
not
a
magic.
doctor-
It's not. He's not doing
Yeah.
magic. He's going, this is what the human body is capable of. I'm going to shove an ice pick through my urethra and out my butthole, and I'll be fine.
And
Did you guys
and-
see him do that one? It was his latest YouTube
Shut the
special. It was
fuck
crazy.
And that is somewhere on the internet. Somebody enjoys that.
Someone did.
Yeah. Wow. We should find that video.
No.
Now, do you want the eye bleach? You want something to
Yeah, absolutely.
wash over?
That wasn't
Okay.
honestly. That wasn't as bad as I
It
thought
wasn't
it might be.
gruesome.
It wasn't
The
gruesome, but
The
it-
drilling sound is hard.
It's pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty gnarly though.
Yeah. And it helps when don't you find it helps when the camera angle is a little bit wider? Like if that was right up next to
There's a few.
The skin.
There's a few where they're like, all right, we
Yeah.
got it, but I'm pretty sure they're cadavers that those ones are happening on.
okay.
Yeah. So if
We
you want
probably
to
can't
YouTube
play
it,
those on YouTube. I imagine.
no, it's full. It's
Oh,
full
yeah?
of it. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's lots of cadaver stuff on YouTube. Here's something that will just tickle your heart bones. You guys familiar with Minecraft? Do you know what Minecraft is?
Yes.
You guys heard about this?
Yep. I actually watched. Watched with my nephews, and there's an interactive
Dude, kids
Minecraft.
love Minecraft.
There's an interactive Minecraft show on Netflix. It's like kind of like Bandersnatch,
No way.
sort of.
No.
The same sort of thing where you
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You choose your own adventure.
yeah.
Cool. So Minecraft, for folks who don't know, is like it's a game that's been around for a fucking long time now. Massive amounts of users. Kids love it. My nephews are fucking huge Minecraft fans. And the idea is like it's a procedurally generated world that is all about world building. So you can chop down trees and you get wood, and then you take the wood and you can build a home. You can chop down like rocks and create cement, and endless possibilities of building. This is actually an old article, but for some reason this popped up as a trending news article. I think there must be something new about it. But Minecraft is helping children with autism make new friends. So playing video games online can be antisocial, but the Autcraft community is helping children with autism learn social skills and build relationships. Like many constructions, it started small, but now thousands of children with autism are making friends and learning social skills by playing a version of the online building game Minecraft. Stuart Duncan got the idea through a popular blog he ran out of his own experiences with autism, as well as bringing up a son with autism. Other parents with autistic children started telling him that their kids were crazy about a game that let them explore a randomly generated wilderness. However, despite loving the game, many of the children were being bullied by other players.
Oh,
So sad.
yeah.
So in
That's really sad.
2013, Duncan, a web developer in Timmins, Canada, set up a server to run a version of Minecraft exclusively for children with autism and their families.
I love Timmins.
Is it? Yeah, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
where my van broke down, and I had to drive up in the middle of January when it was minus 40 and retrieve it from there.
Fond memories.
If only
Yeah.
you knew Stuart was living there.
Yeah, I would have met up with them.
He thought that the invite-only server would attract 10 or 20 people. To his surprise, hundreds requested to join in the first few days. Now, almost 3 years later, and this was This was in 2016, so this has grown exponentially since then.
So I don't know how Minecraft works. Is this like a segmented Minecraft server? Like it is the game.
It's the game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could probably describe this better than I can. Like how servers work.
Yeah, you basically. So I mean, if you imagine that there's a million players playing the game, for the computer to process all of those players playing at the same time, they have to split them up on different servers. So
like when we play,
this case.
we play Warcraft.
There's
60 of us in a game, but at that
Warzone.
same time, there's a million other people playing.
Yeah.
They're all just popped into different servers.
Yeah.
So he created this exclusive invite-only server
Mm-hmm.
that you could only get into with whatever, a link or whatever, and it was specifically for people living with autism. So back in 2016, it became his full-time job. It was called Autcraft. The community boasts nearly 7,000 members. That was back in 2016. Along with a team of admins to help manage many activities. Quote, parents see such a benefit for themselves and their children, says Duncan. Minecraft strips away the pressures and distractions of the real world. You can really just be yourself. The server caught the eye of Kate Ringald, at the University of California, Irvine. She has spent 60 hours inside this virtual world watching how the kids play and chat to one another. Ringland. Ringland sees Autcraft as not just another online community, but as a tool that helps autistic children practice social skills.
I mean, I don't want to discredit her work, but like 60 hours in an online game is it's not really that much.
Weak.
Just saying, it's kind of.
She's probably a level 3.
She's still kind of a noob, to be honest.
She should get bullied.
So in Minecraft, if you don't know how it works, you manipulate blocks of materials like wood and stone to build whatever you like, from painstaking recreations of cities to simple computers. Quote, this is a great way for them to play a game they love, but also have a social experience, says Ringland. It's giving an alternative way for these kids to express themselves and communicate without the stresses of the physical life stuff. Everyday social situations can be challenging for autistic children who may struggle to pick up on social cues or understand another person's perspective. Duncan thinks Minecraft strips away the pressures typical of the real world. There's no noisy or unfamiliar environment to distract you, no pressure to track the other person's facial expressions or worry about eye contact. Quote, with Minecraft, you can really just be yourself, he says. The social interactions, the relationships, the communication, everything just boils down to you and your keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. When I was reading this, it made me think about the time that you and I both got an Oculus Quest over the holidays, and like the time spent in hashtag Metabros for life, and the time we've spent in there searching the metaverse for NFTs within fucking land and in the sky,
in the ether,
in the ether. The time we spent in there. There's something to be said for the social activity that we are sharing in that, and like the like they said here, like the distractions of the real world, or the not having to like focus on like the physical like body language and things like that. It sort of, I'm sure some people could look at that and go, yeah, that doesn't sound healthy. But it almost like strips away a lot of the things that sort of get in the way of communication sometimes that you get in your head about.
It enables it in a way that you don't anticipate you wouldn't anticipate that it does. I mean, you described one of the games that we were playing the other day as to being a similar experience to being at summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting that you're able to have that sort of relationship with a game where you're not actually physically interacting with people and seeing their body language and seeing and making eye contact with them, but you still have this like really nice shared experience together. And I don't know, it's interesting to me because like I think that's amazing and beautiful that they can have a community where they are able to like not have to worry about bullying and things like that. It's kind of fucking sad that they have to create their own server to go and play on to feel that way. And it does also remind me of like, and bring up the fact that there is a lot of toxic online video game culture too. And so, on one part, it's amazing they have this community. On the other side, it's like, fuck, man, we really need to educate people to not be such assholes and to sort of take away from that toxic video game culture but that feels like an impossible task at the same time.
I would say it is an impossible task because it obviously people of all ages engage in that behavior, but I would say that a very large proportion of it is coming from like 12 to
like
14.
you look
or
at the age of
15-year-old
junior high,
boys, which is like you are in a period where you have no fucking idea how to exist as a human.
no filter.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is though how thinking about how video game or like not just video game but like this online culture is becoming more and more common. Like Roblox is a really good example, which for people who don't know what Roblox is, it's very similar to Minecraft. Like a community built, procedurally generated in some cases world where people can go on and socially interact with their friends and play games and it's like it looks like a sort of blocky,
Looks like Lego.
it is like an online Lego universe where people one of the most interesting ways I've heard it described is as a early teenager's form of social network. It's a new social network.
Right.
So
yeah.
in the same way that like Facebook was to us when we were like 16,
university,
17 years old and like and it was just launching, this is sort of like the evolution of the social network for younger kids. And so they are very much living these online lives.
Yeah.
And so the way that they communicate is actually there's some really negative probably consequences of that, but also some really positive ones. And
I mean, I mean, this will probably sound weird to some people, but you got to experience it. And this is the summer camp analogy that I made. Yeah. We're playing this game every once in a while. It's in this app called VR Chat, and we're playing this game called Ghost. And again, it's like completely random people that are placed in the room. So me and Brian will play, and we'll be playing with like 9 other people. And you can only hear their voices, right? Like everyone can take on whatever avatar they want. You fucking name it. It could be their avatar. It could be anything. And all you hear are their voices. So like, we'll be playing and basically the game in a nutshell is you go into an office building. There's like 3 different floors, and everyone is out of the group of like 10 people, one person is the ghost, but no one knows who the ghost is. And the ghost can go around and eliminate players by killing them. And their whole goal is to go around and try to eliminate every character in the game, every person in the game, without being caught, without being found out. And so it's like this game of like trust and distrust, and you're walking around going, "Hey, are you cool? Are we cool? Like, don't get too close to me. Like, do you want to group up? Okay, let's." And you go around and you collect money, and the money buys you a weapon so you can protect yourself. And
it's really fun.
You grab these documents, and you bring the documents up to like the upper level, and you put the document on a whiteboard, and it clears your name. So like, Jeremie's safe. I'm not the ghost. And if everyone puts their document on the board, the ghost is identified, and then everyone's like, okay, we know that Jerry 322 is the fucking ghost. So like, don't go around him, or let's all go gang up and kill him. And we're playing this game, and we'll be playing, and you can hear a guy talking, and you're like, okay, I can tell this is like a 30-year-old man, just like me. But then you're playing, and you're like, okay, this is a 12-year-old kid. And you like Brian and I would play, we'd like buddy up with this like 12-year-old boy, and we're like, come with us, like we will protect you. and like the interactions that you have with this kid as you're running around, and that's what it reminded me of summer camp. Not summer camp when I was a kid, but summer camp as a counselor. Yeah. When you're like you're trying to develop like healthy relationships with young people, and all through play, it's
crazy how overwhelmingly positive though that experience, like, and knowing that you're being put into random lobbies with different people every game, like I mean the toxic culture in that type of game it's not as prevalent as it is in like a Warzone first person shooter Call of Duty style lobby. And I wonder why that is. Maybe it's the diversity of the demographic a bit, or the
type of game, like the type of game that you're playing. It's like it really feels like the people there to play are there to like have fun and make friends. But that makes a lot of sense to me when talking about Autcraft, because it is a very similar experience, just not in VR. And so for these children and their families to come into this universe and interact with people that are struggling the same ways that they are, and to like have these like community-based games together, I think it's just a really beautiful thing.
I mean, it really does piggyback on the conversation we were having last week about AI friends to help people who are going through experiences of like loneliness or, you know, want some practice in having a conversation with somebody, or feel overwhelmed by that idea. Like using these sort of opportunities to interact with somebody, but not being overwhelmed by having to like manage your body language when you interact with them, and caring about what you look like when you say the things that you do.
And being in a world that
practice.
that feels very comfortable.
Yeah.
That feels very, that brings you joy already, you know? For folks that are curious, this is the website here. And if you want to join Autcraft, you just fill out an application. And once you're approved, you're free to roam the landscape and build your own structures. They also take part in group games like massive battles against withers, which is kind of like a ghostly villain, or build things as a team. But you have to stick to some rules. Harassing other players or destroying their property can get you banned. A spin-off server for teenagers is slightly more permissive. And so if you have a child that has autism that loves Minecraft and you feel like this would be kind of up their alley, go check out Autcraft. It's really cool.
But what about our freedom though? What about our freedom of speech? Like, we just want to go on and say anything?
No, I'm not even touching
You're
it.
not even gonna go.
I'm not even going there.
I did want to just touch on something really quickly because of a topic that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we were chatting about China and the Olympics and like how they're going to do that. And I just saw a snippet in a newsletter, a daily newsletter that I get, that sort of gave some context around that. So they are going to do, it says, I'm trying to like read around this because it's like kind of like they write this in kind of a comedy way. So it says the Olympic bubble will host about 11,000 international athletes, guests, and other participants, as well as thousands of Chinese volunteers and staff responsible for monitoring everyone's movements within it. Okay, so they're going to try to have an 11,000 person bubble at the Olympics.
That sounds impossible.
That's a big bubble. Okay, so it says that this would actually be split up into three. So it's speaking of movement, people involved in the Olympics will be shuttled to 3 competition locations nearly 111 miles apart, all while avoiding contact with every single citizen in China's second largest city, Beijing. All locations are connected by high-speed trains and bus routes used only by residents of the Olympic bubble. Chinese citizens have been told not to help if they see one of these bubble buses crash.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's totally insane.
Bubble bus.
China's intense COVID bubble is just one manifestation of its attempt to assert complete control over the upcoming Olympics. Authorities have also detained activists. This is basically just like a shitting on the government. But yeah, so they're going to have this like massive bubble and basically be like, you will arrive, you will go into this bubble, and then no Chinese citizen will interact with anybody that's a part of that.
It
whole
reminds
thing.
me of Prince. My friend Molly she's a musician. She was on the podcast, and she lives in Minneapolis, which I believe is where Prince is from. And Prince was doing a show there, and they needed a guitar tech for his show, and so they called up Molly, and they're like, "We need you to come in. You're gonna like tune his guitars. You're gonna swap his guitars out when he's on stage." And they were like, when she got there, they were like, all right, FYI, do not look at him. Do not make eye contact. Do not talk to him.
I was gonna make that joke.
No, it was straight up. It was
real.
straight up like, do not fucking make any contact with him whatsoever. You are just here to tune his guitars and give him and swap out his guitars.
That's so funny.
It's kind of like that. It's like these elite athletes are here. Do not look at them. Do not talk to them.
You know it's
Do not rescue them from the fiery bus crash.
it is crazy because you start to wonder what are they planning, referencing a fiery bus crash, but
I know,
yeah,
right? I know,
Christ,
right? We're like, we're not planning anything, but
the thing that I find that's crazy is I'm part of the host organizing committee for the Canoe Kayak World Championships here next summer, and thinking about this, the COVID precautions that they're taking, the biggest challenge that I see with that is the volunteers, because with the Canoe Kayak World Championships, we anticipate having approximately 700 volunteers help out with the event over the course of the week here.
Right.
And our event will probably involve, this is just my best guess right now, but maybe somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 people in the city. And so thinking of this 11,000 person athlete event, just the athletes alone,
It's crazy.
the amount of volunteers probably almost have to be a sort of 1-to-1 ratio of athletes to volunteers to athletes. And so imagining the volunteers that would be required, you start to they're
I wonder.
gonna be
I wonder if they're
chances.
included in that bubble.
So they must have.
They
I
have to
mean,
be.
they said 11,000 athletes. I would assume that they would have to have
yeah.
them in that bubble, but that means that they have to provide accommodations
Yeah.
for those people or some way to manage them as well. So
Yeah. That's
I
a
mean,
wild undertaking.
considering China at the start of the pandemic, back in early 2020, built an entire hospital,
Yeah,
handle
a hospital warehouse in a matter of 3 days.
Yeah, so it's considering they have the ability to do that. I mean, it's probably not
maybe
surprising
possible.
that
Guys,
they would be able to do this, but it does seem like a huge logistical nightmare.
there's this speed skater that I saw a video of who's at the Olympics, and she's going through a venue. She's entering into a venue, and the caption on it was I'm trying to find it here. I feel like it was probably a story, so it's probably gone. It was event facial recognition time, and they're just walking through a little portal. They don't stop and talk to anybody or anything. And literally, as she walks through, her face and profile immediately pops up on the screen and identifies her.
You know what? You know how?
It's
You know why
crazy.
that's possible? Because she made her face old.
This is it right here. 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 Look.
I know what you mean. I'll put this on the screen if you send it to me.
She goes
walk
through
her
and then
whoa,
immediately pops up her
whoa.
face. Isn't that nuts?
Wow, wow.
Crazy.
Check it out on YouTube if you want to see that, folks. That was crazy.
That's really funny.
That
That
is wild.
old app.
Yeah. Moving right along here. I wanted to play this. It came up a couple of weeks ago, but and I meant to put it on the show earlier. This is just in case folks don't know. So we're all pretty aware with PCR tests and rapid tests. If you don't know this, and I think this is worth knowing, if you are someone who is feeling like you need a rapid test, the old quick nose swab in the juice, squirt the juice in the little applicator.
I was like, wait, what? Where is this going?
They're saying now that not only to swab your nose, but also to swab the back of your throat. So
In that order.
it goes up
No.
nose into your throat. No, that's not that. But here's a video. So new research is showing that swabbing your nose and throat makes a more accurate rapid test. So you can get any rapid test, and you start by pulling the applicator out. You swab the back of your throat, so back into your tonsils first. Dude, this guy's making it look like so easy. It's not.
I hate it.
Then
I
you do
hate
your
that.
nose second.
He's so chill.
He's really chill about it. Yeah, this is CBC News, Nova Scotia.
So every time a new variant comes out, we never know if it's changed slightly and where it likes to grow. And studies like these are important to show that our tests continue to work.
It makes me so jealous that when they stick the swab in their nose that they don't immediately start sneezing, because as soon as I do it, I'll sneeze
Kyle's
4
the
or
same
5
way.
times
Interesting.
in a row.
Kyla can almost
Yeah.
not do it. I don't mind
Yeah.
it at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, it tickles my nose, but it's fine.
It tickles my nose, but then it makes me sneeze.
So, folks,
like
rapid
5 or 6
tests. If you're
times.
going to do a rapid test this week or this weekend, do your throat first, and then do your nose, and see if you get the
See if you get COVID.
see if you get that positive
guys
test, that you're
get-
looking for.
This could be content that we cut out of the podcast and use exclusively on our OnlyFans. But do you guys have a gag reflex when you, like, if you stuck that back there?
I can't even brush my tongue.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a much bigger.
Watch
item.
this. Oh man.
No.
Oh.
That's, but you're putting your whole. You're putting your.
Well, I'm
whole
touching my
fingers.
tonsil.
Yeah, but you're.
But that's what you'd have to do with the thing.
Okay.
Holy
Are we
shit!
do-
wow, Bri.
Are we?
Oh,
Are
oh,
we
he
doing?
did
it?
gag,
Are
he
we
did
doing
gag.
it? Are we doing this
You
here?
gagged.
Do
I hate that.
Should I do it?
Yeah. Do you have one?
Also, I
Do
don't
I
know.
have
touch-
one?
yeah,
Who
touch it.
doesn't have a gag? I mean, I mean,
Oh,
obviously. I mean, some people
I've
don't.
met a couple of people.
I mean, I know some people don't, but most people do.
I'm clipping that for the cold.
I don't
open, for
know.
Sure.
That is actually something I'd be curious to know if most people have a gag reflex.
Okay, well, let's see.
Because I don't know.
Let's see if I
I would
have
say
one.
most people probably do.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Google it.
Okay. I have to touch my con. Okay.
Tonsil.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, that's
Dude,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Whoa, dude,
Oh,
you're eating your fist.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Folks, if you want to see what we just did, head over to our OnlyFans.
Dude, that was horrific. That one
Yeah.
was for you, Darren.
This is kind of cool. Oral CBD prevented COVID-19 infection in real world patients. Study suggests. Cannabidiol. Man, this is so hard. Cannabidiol. Cannabidiol. The non-psychoactive cannabis compound, better known as CBD.
Cannabinol? Is that what it is?
No, it's cannabidiol. 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 Known as CBD, is a potent blocker of SARS-CoV-2 replication in human cells.
Did we not talk about this 2 weeks ago?
No, we didn't.
We never brought it up?
We talked
We were
about it
going to.
off air. We talked about it
okay.
hanging out here. Not only that, but a survey of real-world patients taking prescribed CBD found a significant negative relationship between CBD consumption and COVID-19 infection. As detailed in a paper published Thursday in the peer-reviewed journal Science Advances by a team of 33 researchers at the University of Chicago and the University of Louisville, a survey of 1,212 U.S. patients taking prescribed CBD found that people taking 100 milligrams per milliliter oral doses of CBD returned positive COVID-19 tests at much lower rates than controlled groups with similar medical backgrounds who did not take CBD.
Do you think I don't know, like 100 or 200 or however many years from now, people will just look back and go, you know that there was 100 years where basically just everyone just ignored the like all these crazy things that this simple
Medical
this
benefits
this
of
simple
plant
plant,
medicine.
this like
Yeah.
very simple
Yeah.
plant, like had all these things, and
Because
everyone
like
and
20 years of shitty ad
and
campaigns.
and everyone thought that you
Reefer madness.
you just die, you die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You'll go crazy and rape everyone and then kill yourself.
I
damn.
wonder if that, so like I like the science is really interesting around that, but I wonder in practicality for like the recreational pot smoker that smokes weed with high CBD content. I wonder if there's any like positive effect or protection against COVID.
So at the same week that this study came out, there was another study that also came out. I didn't include it in today's, but it had to do with combustible CBD
Oh,
as
really?
well. Yeah. According to the study, all the patients who were people who had seizure-related conditions, which CBD is often prescribed to treat. Of this group, 6.2% returned positive COVID-19 test or diagnosis compared to 8.9% in the control group. Among a smaller subset of patients who were likely taking CBD on the dates of their first COVID-19 test, the effect was even more pronounced. Only 4.9% of people taking CBD became infected with COVID-19 compared to the 9% of the control group. Now, these aren't like staggering numbers, 6.2% versus 8.9%, but it is kind of it's kind of hopeful that CBD could be looked at as a potential in a therapeutic in the coming years.
And I think anything when you're talking about something that in the context of a pandemic that is affecting, basically everybody, like small percentages represent really big populations.
Yeah.
Or can represent really big
Yeah.
populations. So
They said, quote, our results suggest that CBD and its metabolite 7-OH-CBD can block SARS-CoV-2 infections at early and even later stages of infection. Besides looking at real-world data, the scientists conducted lab tests. Lead author Dr. Marcia Rosner, a professor at the Ben May Department for Cancer Research at the University of Chicago, and her team treated human lung cells for 2 hours with CBD before infecting them with SARS-CoV-2 and left them for 48 hours while monitoring them for presence of the COVID spike protein. They found that CBD inhibits the replication of genes required for the growth and spread of the virus throughout the body. They performed the same tests on 3 COVID-19 variants and found the same result. Quote, as a bottom line, what this says is that CBD has the potential to prevent infections such as breakthrough infections, which might be one of the most useful applications. The researchers strove to identify the mechanism through which CBD inhibited infection. While they found a negligible effect at the point at which viruses enter cells, they found CBD to be very effective at preventing protein expression in cells 2 and 6 hours after infection, and partially effective at doing so 15 hours after infection. This is pretty fascinating. Like, it's like
this made its
this is
rounds.
like after infection, they're going pump it with CBD, and they're going, whoa, we're like getting some sort of result.
And this article and this study made. This was popping up in like
Everywhere.
every news organization and publication. So
Yeah.
you gotta. It's probably obviously the consensus is that it has merit. It's not just like it's not a one-off.
The consensus is
weird
that
thing.
the mainstream media seems to be
Lamestream
benefiting
media, yeah.
from some big cannabis company.
Oh, I forgot. I meant to bring this up on the show last week, and I'll make this really brief. But I meant it was a follow-up on something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we mentioned the military vaccine,
Spiffin.
and we asked the question like, how does this? Because the idea of that vaccine was that it was going to protect against future variants, and we were like, how the fuck does it know how to protect against future
Because
variants?
it's not just targeting the spike protein.
Right, and I was right. We were both listening to that episode again. Where Brian and I. Brian via my adamant
Yes.
exposure, fans of a podcast called The Drive with a doc named Peter Attia, and they were chatting about. They ended up shortly after we had that conversation. I was listening to an episode and heard them talk about this, and it was way too. They're really great science communicators. They make complex things sound digestible and relatively easy to understand, and I can't repeat it because I'm not smart enough to
Easy
repeat
for
it.
you to understand, difficult to regurgitate.
It's very difficult to regurgitate, but it had something to do with the fact that the mRNA vaccines are targeting like such a very specific part of the virus,
The spike protein.
the spike protein, that it's challenging for that type of vaccine to protect against future variants.
Right.
Whereas the more like OG way of producing a vaccine, which we're more familiar with, which I believe is by administering an adenovirus, which is basically like a version of the virus, is the way that that gets into your body. It basically like exposes you to like the more whole genetic makeup of the virus, so your body can respond to the it's almost like it will recognize future variants as like descendants of what you've already been protected against. Sort of thing.
Anecdotally, like the one good analogy that the epidemiologists used was that your B cells are like recipe books, and when you are given a vaccine like Covax or like Spiffin or the Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca AstraZeneca vaccines, they give you the recipe book that sees a whole picture of the virus, whereas the mRNA vaccines, while they're great at protecting against the virus in its form right now, don't give your cells the same B cells with or recipe books that can see
Yeah.
the entire picture. Though they were basically saying in its current form and variants, they are, equally as effective. It's
Anyway,
just more so down the road.
If you want to like listening to it for yourself, because like dude, they
Yes.
are so much smarter and describe it so much better. It's called The Drive. The podcast came out January 20th or so, somewhere around there, and it's called like COVID Part 2 or something like that.
Rosner and her team caution against conflating their findings with the suggestion to use recreational cannabis as a treatment for COVID-19. THC may inhibit CBD's antiviral effects, the authors note, and smoking is bad for your lungs. Without clinical trials, they also can't recommend that people go out and buy CBD at a dispensary. Just wanted to put that in there just so we don't run into the whole, Joe Rogan ivermectin problem here where we get canceled for promoting a treatment that isn't necessarily a treatment.
Turns out a bunch of shows start leaving the CBC because
sick boy podcast hosts say you should
Go buy CBD.
you should take
Throw the kitchen sink at it.
you
Don't
should
get
take
vaccinated.
you should take pothead medicine.
Here's
COVID.
Brian Goldman leaves. He's like, "Fuck these guys."
Here's an interesting story, sort of in line with hating billionaires. I don't know how that ties into. It sort of ties into cancel culture, but Mark Cuban. Everyone hates that fucking billionaire, that billionaire piece of shit. Although
Is this the
he's doing something kind of nice.
thing that I sound like that was
Yeah.
a week or two ago?
Yeah. So Mark Cuban is, who is also the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, has launched an online pharmacy.
And a host of Shark
Tank.
Tank.
He's launched an online pharmacy for genetic drugs that looks to cut out middlemen and combat pharmaceutical industry price gouging by offering steep discounts. This is kind of cool. The Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drug Company set up costplusdrugs.com last week with 100 generic drugs to treat conditions like diabetes and asthma. Cost Plus will not accept health insurance, but claims its prices will still be lower than what people would typically pay at pharmacy. Quote, all drugs are priced at cost plus 15%, was Cuban tweeted on Thursday. So one example would be a month's supply of imatinib, which is a drug used to treat leukemia, retails for around $9,600, which is about $120 per month with a voucher. Cost Plus's price is $47 a month.
Whoa.
That's a significant drop in price. The company is building an $11 million drug manufacturing plant in Dallas, where it hopes to be complete by April. And Cuban tweeted that the plant will allow the company to expand into injectables.
Is this basically like the Americans' version of our Shoppers Drug Mart Life brand?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well, no, because because
I mean, that is generic brand drugs that are, if you looked at Tylenol next to acetaminophen
Life
of
brand.
that Life
yeah.
brand, there's like, Tylenol, a can of 40 pills of Tylenol would be like $20, whereas the Life brand would be like $16.
Yeah.
But it's probably more than 15%.
Yeah.
Of 15% more than cost.
Yeah. This is at cost plus 15%.
This is more like Tesla
I wonder what Trikafta
being
would
being direct to consumer.
What do you think Trikafta is at cost?
Oh my God, I don't know.
It's really hard to say because
there's so many factors.
So
that
like
go
we
into it.
know
I
it's
don't know.
what $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Is what it retails at. So like you can imagine that they mark it up. Like what percentage do you think drugs are marked up at?
Dude, fuck, I
I
don't
don't know,
know,
man.
I don't know.
Probably
Depends if Martin Shkreli's involved.
500%, 1,000%.
I have no idea because there's like I recently heard that the argument that pharmaceutical companies, one of the reasons why they're able to charge such high prices is because of the research that goes into the drugs.
R&D, yeah.
But I recently heard, and I'm not even going to say anything about it because I can't remember it at all. But I recently heard, and I remember feeling quite compelled by it, an argument that basically put that theory to out to pasture.
Was it a video of a woman at Congress basically showing a table of like, here's what they say R&D goes towards, where
maybe
that
it was that.
Yeah, I think it could have been that. And I remember watching that video going,
You know
sons of
what's
bitches."
really funny is I've never bought that argument, because when I worked in team building in the Middle East, our biggest clients in the MENA region, which is Middle East, North Africa. So we would do most pharmaceutical company headquarters for the MENA region are in Dubai. And so we would run events for like all of the big, I won't even name them, all of the big pharmaceutical companies. And they, compared to any other company in any other industry, the pharmaceutical companies fucking balled out on team building events and like employee weekends away and offsites and stuff. They went like, so you couldn't even comprehend how much money they would spend on a weekend.
It's all
away.
research and
And which
development.
is really interesting, because like I
Yeah.
did some company valuations on I did one on Pfizer, I did one on GlaxoSmithKline a couple weeks ago, and like from a financials perspective, like they make a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money. Like they're not swimming in
But do you think they spend frivolously?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably.
when you're reading financial statements, you can't really glean
I mean,
how they're spending that. But
Sometimes
looking
I
at what
wa-
they would spend on it was fucking crazy.
Sometimes
Like,
I wonder, like, if I was a lot smarter than I am, and I went to like pharmacology school, like, I know for sure that I'd be cooking acid in my kitchen, because I'd be like, I'm going to teach myself how to do that, and I'll do it. I'll make my own LSD. But also, I wonder, like, if I did that, I'm watching Ozark right now, and this whole I mean, no spoilers, but like the whole poppies and like outsourcing heroin for pharmaceutical companies is very fascinating. But like the woman that runs the pharmaceutical company, when she's like testing the heroin,
yeah.
and like on her little like lab setup, it made me think, like, how hard would it be if I knew pharmacology really well for me to just make Trikafta at home?
well,
because I know the three drugs that make up the drug,
But
right?
that's
So
because
like,
opium is not
a
patented.
No, I
drug.
know. Right. So it's the patents that, like, it's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, we're not going to give you the secret sauce of how we made this.
In 20 years, you might be able to do it.
But like,
Maybe.
how? Yeah, like what? Like
Open source.
Hard,
like
maybe.
open source pharmacology. Like,
Yeah.
how common is that?
We should have what's his name on the show?
Walter White?
No, not Walter White. The guy, the Vice guy.
Hamilton Morris.
Hamilton Morris.
Morris.
God,
Yeah.
that would be.
That'd be a dream.
I would retire.
Yeah.
I would go, this is it.
Yeah, that would be
We
an
did it.
amazing show.
You guys know how much I love conspiracy theories, and I got to be careful in saying that. I just want to preface.
Conspiracy theories have taken on a bit of a new
They
life
have.
over the last
Yeah,
couple
they
of
have.
years.
Yeah. I can't really like them anymore.
Post Trump era and post COVID era, conspiracy theories were really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
They
Before,
were
yeah.
really fun. They
Dude,
were
we
really
were-
funny.
We were
had
going to do a podcast.
we might still one day. I've got this amazing idea for a conspiracy theory podcast that I want to do someday. I love conspiracy theories.
Do you think in the environment that ended up happening,
It might actually be a positive thing, because I was thinking about this in the shower the other day. The podcast name would be "Conspiracy Theories Are Fun." I think that would be the name of it. And so anyway, like, what I mean by that is, like, you know, the conspiracy theory that Hollow Earth theory, like, that's fun. That's a fun thing. Aliens, like alien conspiracy theory. That's fun. That's fun stuff.
Flat Earth is fun.
Flat Earth is very fun. Very fun.
There's a new Flat Earth Oculus game coming out. That's like, it's like almost sort of like The Accountant.
Yeah, right.
Style, but
No,
it's
that's
about
great.
Flat Earth. Yeah.
The
So-
COVID one is fun.
No, it's not. It's a big fucking bummer, and it's the thing that unfortunately gives conspiracy theories a bad name. But conspiracy theories I do enjoy, and there was one that kind of like popped its head up recently in the last 5 years that I've been sort of following, that I find endlessly fascinating, and it is one that really excites me. It's the conspiracy theory surrounding Havana Syndrome. Now, I feel like we might have talked about Havana Syndrome on the show before.
We did.
If we didn't, we've talked about it a ton.
We definitely talked about it on the show.
Okay,
but
so
like it was like a little segment.
Yeah, so
a year ago probably.
So for folks who aren't aware, Havana Syndrome, symptoms of Havana Syndrome were first reported by CIA officials and State Department employees and diplomats working at the American Embassy in the Cuban capital in 2016. And they described hearing harsh mechanical sounds and experiencing very uncomfortable pressure, like the sensation that you get when you're driving really fast down a highway and like one window is down. That's sort of like,
I hate.
and like that feeling in your head.
Yeah.
Okay. So some sufferers have said that when the symptoms first emerged, it also felt like they were being hit with a beam of energy. Vertigo, vision problems, and difficulty concentrating have also been reported. Hearing loss, followed by auditory symptoms for some of the diplomats and agents, with some cases intense enough that employees were forced to end their tours early and return to the U.S. for study and outpatient treatment.
But wasn't there like a semi-logical explanation for this in the end?
No. Still to this day, there hasn't been, but... So... That was 2016, right?
But they thought that there was like that some foreign government was fucking with them.
So that was the thought, and that was the conspiracy theory. So these CIA agents, these diplomats, there was a Canadian diplomat that was down there. They were all experiencing this thing, and here's what's really fucking crazy about this. They would report sitting in their hotel room, and then all of a sudden getting this like sensation. While they're at their computer, and they're like, "What the fucking fuck?" And they're all fucked up, and they stand up and they go to the in a delirium. They stand and they walk to the other side, or they walk out of the room. As soon as they leave the room, it's over. So they go, "What the fuck?" They walk back into the room, sit down at the computer, it starts again. Okay, so they all started to say when they came back, they were like, "Yo, American government, CIA, we got to look into this. We think that this is some sort of like bioweapon. We think that this is some sort of like weapon used by communists that is like an energy weapon that is like fucking up our brains."
This is so easy for me to explain. I can tell you
Shut the fuck
exactly.
up.
I can tell you
Shut the
exactly
fuck
what's
up.
happening. You want to know exactly what's happening?
This is why Brian's not going to be a part of
This is-
Conspiracies Are Fun, because he's like, yep, he poo-poos every
This
fucking
is what.
conspiracy.
This is exactly what's happening. They get down there and everybody they're all stoked to be in Havana. They're like, we're gonna go down to Cuba. It's gonna be warm. It's gonna be fun. And they get down there and they realize it fucking sucks because they're stuck in their work. They can't really leave their hotel rooms.
They're not even allowed to
It's
be in the
not-
country in the first place.
Right, exactly. So they realize how
It's not all
unfun it is.
inclusive.
And so there's one person there who's like, listen, the last guy told him to do this thing. You got sent back. Just say you have the exact same shit and you can get sent out of here and we'll figure it out. So they just keep doing that. And then eventually the story, it just becomes like this mob mentality. Like they
That's
all
its
adopt the
own
story.
conspiracy theory in and of itself.
It is.
Yeah, maybe.
Now here's
Maybe.
the interesting
Maybe
thing.
It's just the truth.
This wasn't isolated to just the capital of Cuba. Havana Syndrome was happening to diplomats all over the world. Diplomats in China, CIA agents in Russia.
China, Cuba, Russia.
Okay, all right.
What do we have in common?
So there's the
here?
link, right?
Communism.
What do we have in common here?
Yeah, right. So
Communism?
that's the conspiracy theory link, where they're thinking this is a new weapon that we've never heard of that is causing this thing, right? So the CIA is like immediately, and the FBI and everybody, all the fucking agencies are like, we better get to the fucking bottom of this. If our diplomats and our officials are being attacked, we got to figure this out.
And it was this one fucking ambassador named like Bartleby who is traveling to all these countries and he's just telling them all to say, hey, listen, I did this in Cuba and it fucking worked. You don't want to be in this one of these S-hole countries? Then,
Jesus
then
Christ.
just use this, say this, and you'll get sent home. That's what he's saying.
The CIA has come out, and they have said most Havana Syndrome cases unlikely caused by foreign power. A report concluded that most cases have environmental or medical causes, but the government remains focused on investigating 24 incidents that remain unexplained. Now, it's an interesting article, okay, because this is what I love about conspiracy theories. There's this, I'll go through the article, but the people that are experiencing this are like, No,
That wasn't it.
that's not it. So, the CIA has found that most cases of the mysterious ailment known as Havana Syndrome are unlikely to have been caused by Russia or another foreign adversary. The conclusion has angered victims. A majority of the 1,000 cases reported, a fuckload of people, 1,000 cases reported to the government can be explained by environmental causes, undiagnosed medical conditions, or stress, rather than a sustained global campaign by a foreign power, CIA officials said, describing the interim findings of a comprehensive study. The CIA is continuing its investigation into 24 cases that remain unexplained. Those cases, said the U.S. official briefed on the findings, offer the greatest chance of yielding clues to whether a foreign power is responsible for some of the unexplained health incidents that have plagued America's diplomats and CIA personnel in Havana and Vienna, among other cities. In addition to those 24 cases, a significant number of others remain unexplained. The idea that Russia, China, or Cuba was responsible for attacking hundreds of diplomats around the world was never backed up by evidence that the Biden administration could unearth. But the FBI, the Pentagon, and others continue to investigate whether a foreign power was involved in a smaller number of incidents. Clusters of incidents in Havana beginning in 2016 and some in Vienna in 2021, along with other individual incidents, remain a focus of such investigations. The interim findings left many victims dissatisfied, particularly current and former officials who have been battling chronic ailments for years without being given a clear explanation.
Which also would probably fucking suck for them trying to get any sort of compensation or like, you know, beyond disability or whatever.
I believe they go into the article. There is some sort of compensation that they ended up receiving. In a statement, a group of victims said the CIA interim findings, quote, cannot and must not be the final word on the matter. The CIA's newly issued report may be labeled interim, and it may leave open the door for some alternative explanation in some cases, but to scores of dedicated public servants, their families, and their colleagues, it has a ring of finality and reputation. Reputation?
Let me give the final word on the matter.
Okay.
Wake, wake, sleep yourselves, wake, take up, rise up, you are awake, you are awake.
That's my favorite fucking running joke on fucking dudes from Russia being interviewed in post-fight interviews in the UFC. William J. Burns, the director of the CIA, said the agency was pursuing a complex issue with analytic rigor, sound tradecraft, and compassion, emphasizing that agency offers have experienced real symptoms. While we have, quote, while we have reached some significant interim findings, we are not done, Mr. Burns said in a statement. Quote, we will continue the mission to investigate these incidents and provide access to real-world care for those who need it.
Real-world care?
The agency has never accused Russia or any another power of being responsible, but some officials, particularly in the Pentagon, say they believe there was evidence of the involvement of Moscow's spy agencies, and many victims concurred. When Mr. Burns traveled to Moscow in December to warn Russia against invading Ukraine, he raised the issue of health incidents, and Russia said if Russia was found responsible, there would be consequences. A former CIA officer who suffered Havana Syndrome symptoms on a trip to Moscow in 2017 said it was critical to continue investigating the cases that remain unexplained, praising Mr. Burns' efforts to improve care for injured officers, and added that the CIA should not revert to culture where victims were denigrated and dismissed. He said, quote, it took us 10 years to find Osama bin Laden. I would just urge patience and continued investigation by the intelligence community and the Department of Defense.
That is an interesting comparison to draw.
I mean, the thing that I find so interesting here is that it is exclusively being experienced with U.S. and Canadian officials.
It's very strange.
That are working either in the CIA or diplomats of some degree.
It's prime for conspiracy theory.
Dude, you know what though is crazy is I didn't believe in those like international like coordinated foreign assassinations like with all these, you know, a bunch of moving parts, these like really
you mean like
detailed, orchestrated?
You mean like the Bourne series?
Yeah, I didn't believe that those things were real. I thought it was just movies until I just brought up this article of this assassination that happened in Dubai while I was living there. You just have to read this article. I'm not even gonna go. I'll share it in Discord or on our Discord, but basically the headline is Dubai murder, fake identities, disguised faces, and a clinical assassination.
Well,
There was 11 Israeli special ops spies arrested.
You know the story.
happened
You know the
for
story.
real.
The North Korean family member of Kim Jong Un,
uncle or something.
yeah, who was assassinated in the airport, and you know the story behind that, right?
Not
So
fully.
there,
Is this conspiracy theory or this
no,
is
this
like,
this is it's a fascinating documentary on Netflix. Goes through the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's amazing. Essentially, this North Korean special agent, undercover, went to Thailand, sat down next to a young Thai woman, and told her that he was a producer for a prank show, and was like, "You got a really great look. Like, we would love to talk about hiring you for the show." And he was saying that it was for a South Korean prank show that they were producing in Thailand. And so she was like, yeah, amazing. So he gets her and her friend, hires them to be the hosts of this show. And for months, they would meet up. They would go, all right, cool. Here's your task. They would give them like, an example would be like, all right, we're going to give you this like cream pie. And we want you to like run up and smack the cream pie into like the bus driver's face. And they would do it. And they would come back and they'd be like, oh, that was really fun. And they're like, all right, cool. Like, here's your, and they would pay
I can
them.
already see what's going to happen here.
Well, then they were like, okay, we got a new one for you today. We're in an airport and we're going to show you the guy that we want you to get. We want you to go up to him and we want you to put this oil on your hands and then spray this mist on your hands. It's like, it has a really bad smell or whatever, and run up to him and just cover his face with it. And they were like, okay. And so they were sitting in the airport, the Thai airport. And he goes, that's the mark right there. And they're like, all right, cool. So these two young women run up to the guy. And
If
they're
you
like,
refer to somebody as the mark,
And
then you know
yeah,
that you're
yeah.
part of a hit.
they run up. They think they're just like fucking in like Jackass 2. And they slather this guy's face with their hands and they run away. And the guy goes into cardiac arrest in a matter of seconds, dies. Turns out he was the fucking
Cyanide.
related to Kim Jong Un. And those two girls get arrested. They're charged with the assassination of a fucking like political leader, and they get tossed in jail. Well,
don't say anything now because I want to watch it. And I don't
all
know
right.
what happened.
Then you got to know how that. So
It's very similar to what happened to Alexei Navalny.
So, spoiler alert. I won't go too far into it.
Except he lived.
They end up getting the women end up being found not guilty, and it's wild
Literally
as to
just asked
how.
you to not.
I know, but I won't tell you how they ended up being found not guilty.
Is
Okay.
Navalny not dead yet?
No, he's not. Well, he's in jail. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Back
Especially
to this,
with all the Russia.
But he had
stuff
but
going
that
on.
was like a handshake,
Mm.
like with a poison,
right?
and
Right.
And he
This is why
This stuff
conspiracy
exists,
and he
theories,
proved.
this is what gives sort of legs to conspiracy theories because like on the the remarkable occasions where this stuff does actually happen this way.
Yeah.
Because
maybe aren't so
because
remarkable.
probably
could-
1% of conspiracy theories are real,
And that's why they're so fun.
and that's what gives them life. Is that when one is proven legit, then it gives credit to all others.
Yeah.
And you
There-
go, well, we can't
yeah.
fully dismiss any of these because of that. That
There's a
circumstance
really
of that
fun
instance.
conspiracy theory that has to do with the American government purchasing companies that make glitter and utilizing glitter in spy tech. I'll tell you about it off air. It's fun.
Yeah, the thing is I actually you say that I always poo-poo conspiracy
You
theories.
do.
But I think I actually you just don't like that I poo-poo your version of the conspiracy theory because I feel
Yeah.
like oftentimes I do perpetuate my own versions
yeah.
of those conspiracy
They
theories.
literally created
Theories.
a new one.
Back to this,
which is
article-
why I should be on the podcast with you guys.
To
not-
finish
you're
this
not a part of
article
the
here,
podcast.
a directed energy weapon remains the hypothesis that a number of victims who have studied the incidents believe is most likely. Some of these current or retired officials believe government investigators have dismissed evidence that they have collected of strange sounds or electromagnetic readings. So it's still up in the air. The CIA is coming out and saying, we don't think it is this, but we're still looking into it.
I feel like
Time
there's
will
not
tell.
enough people who have been looking into it, and maybe if more people do their own research, we'll get to
Yeah.
a better conclusion. soon.
So
Yeah,
in doing
100%.
this, I wanted to cover a story that was sent to us by our patron Sadie. Thank you, Sadie, who's been contributing lots to the show lately. This is a wild story. The CIA secretly created an undetectable heart attack gun.
Fuck off.
The Cold War must have been an amazing time to be a weapons manufacturer for the U.S. government. This is for What the Health. Like some kind of early Tony Stark, if you could dream it, you could build it. And chances were very good that the CIA would fund it. From funding LSD tests using prostitutes and their johns, to a secret underground ice base in Greenland, to trying to build an actual flying saucer, there was literally no end to what the CIA would try. What they ended up actually building and then using was much less fun and much more terrifying. We only found out about it because Senator Frank Church decided to do a little investigating. Among other things, he found a gun that caused heart attacks, a weapon that had been used against the U.S. political enemies and beyond. Here is a photo of the gun itself.
No.
The clandestine service had its people researching all sorts of various ways to kill its targets. The CIA soon latched onto poisons, ones that were undetectable and appeared to mimic a heart attack. They found it in a specially designed poison engineered for the CIA. Only a skilled pathologist who knew what to look for would ever discover the victim's heart attack wasn't from natural causes. To deliver the poison, the injection was frozen and packed into a dart. Darts from the new secret assassination gun would penetrate clothing but leave only a small red dot on the skin's surface. Once inside the body, the dart would disintegrate, and the frozen poison inside would begin to melt, entering the bloodstream and causing the cardiac episode. Shortly after, the deadly agent denatured quickly and became virtually undetectable. They even brought the gun to show Congress. The Church Commission and its findings caused a massive frenzy in the United States. People became hungry for more and began to get hysterical in the wake of any news about the CIA. In the aftermath of the Church Commission, President Ford and later Reagan had to issue executive orders banning the tactics of targeted assassinations by the CIA and other intelligence agencies. What became of the poison dart gun is anyone's guess.
Whoa.
Probably just kept being used.
Oh, yeah. Of course, they just came out and were like, oh, this is atrocious. We won't be doing this again. And then they're like, make 20 more of those guns and give them out to the Mexican cartel so we can keep this drug war going.
Okay, yeah, you're giving your spoiler.
Isn't that
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy.
So don't fucking sit here and tell me that Havana Syndrome isn't coming from fucking ray guns from the next hotel room over.
I watched a show. It really wasn't that great of a show. The content was interesting, but like the show production was not that great. But it's a Netflix series about like spy tech, like the history of spy tech, cool. and a lot of it was like starting in the Cold War and like all the shit that the Americans and Soviets like did to each other to fuck with each other.
Yeah,
like sending gifts and things that like an ambassador would keep on their desk or whatever, and it would have all this, something in it that would, listen in or whatever, and all this stuff, and pairs of shoes that they'd pay off a cobbler that they knew that this person went to see, and they'd go and do like they'd manufacture their own shoe with like a listening device and swap it at the cobbler shop. That would be the shoe that the American diplomat would then go and buy, and all this shit is crazy.
It's wild. I mean, it reminds me of what was that Ben Affleck movie where they sent him down? Argo. They sent him down to like rescue a bunch of Americans and Canadians.
Yeah, Argo.
And he posed as a producer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they made a fake movie and they went location scouting and everything.
That's a real story.
Yeah,
That's
it's wild.
actually happened.
Yeah, it was a wild story. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. We love doing these Feel Good Friday episodes, and we love that you support the podcast by listening. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a review or a rating on the mobile app. And, of course, over here on YouTube, hit subscribe so that you know every time we're dropping content on YouTube, because it would mean the world to us.
And we've got some pretty crazy letters lately.
Dude,
I'm not gonna divulge anything right now because we're gonna talk about it a bit on the show. But crazy, and if you want to be a part of the craziness,
Yep.
the much beloved craziness, letters@sickboypodcast.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Send us your story. And if you want to be a guest on the show, go to sickboypodcast.com/contact.
Mm-hmm. And you can join the conversation about this episode or any of our other episodes over on Discord, which you can access through the link in our bio on Instagram.
The link in the show notes
The
of this
link in the
episode
show
right here.
notes of this episode, and as always, a huge thank you to the folks who make this show happen. Thanks to Rich O'Coin for the theme music, to Jeff Lonis, our manager, and
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.